like to marry a real-life king? A real-life king! Well, Esther experienced that exact thing. But the weirdest part was she didn't even want to marry the king. So let's learn about her today. So Esther was a woman in the Bible who lived in the land of Babylon. Now Esther was Jewish, which means she was descendant of the Israelites. Now we've learned about the Israelites a little bit, but they were God's chosen people. So Esther lived like she was God's chosen person, right? She lived like a person of God. And she had a cousin named Mordecai. Now Mordecai and Esther were pretty close together. They were like best friends, right? And she lived at a time where the king was looking for a new wife. His old wife had gone her separate ways with him, and he needed a new wife. So he looked through all the land and tried to find a smart, pretty woman that he could marry. He wanted the most beautiful woman in the land, and so happened to be that it was Esther. Esther was so beautiful that the king chose her. So Esther was like, what? I'm gonna be the queen? Esther was gonna be the queen. She didn't even want to be the queen. But through it all, Mordecai told her, what if you were made for such a time as this? At the time, a man named Haman, who was the king's right-hand man, decided that he wanted to make a plan to kill all the Jews. He did not like the Jews. He didn't like the way that they lived, and he probably didn't even like the fact that they were God's chosen people, right? So Haman wanted to kill all the Jews. Now, the king didn't know that Esther was a Jew, so what he decided to do was sign the decree. He signed the decree saying that on a certain date, all the Jews would be taken away. And Mordecai didn't know what to do. He told Esther the king's plan, and she didn't even know what she could do. She was just the queen. She didn't make decisions. But again, Mordecai told her, what if you were made and put in this place for such a time as this? So Esther came to the king, and she went before him, which she was not supposed to do, went before him and asked the king and Haman to dinner. Now, the king and Haman both happily went to dinner with her, and she made this beautiful meal. They ate it, and whenever she went to ask them not to do that and to tell the king that she was a Jew and that he would be killing her people, she got scared. And so she had to ask them again to dinner the next night. Whenever she asked them to dinner the next night, they came and they ate with her. And she finally disclosed that Haman's evil plan would destroy her and her people. When the king found out that Haman was trying to kill his queen and his people, he could not believe it. He was so mad. And through it all, he also knew that Mordecai had been a good man. He knew that Mordecai was one of his guards. He worked in a high position. He even saved the king's life at one time. So not only was Haman trying to kill his own wife, but also the one who had saved his life. Wow! So instead of the Jews getting killed and the Jews going through this hard time, the king decided that whatever that Haman had decided that the Jews were going to go through, that Haman had to go through. So Haman got the fate that the Jews were supposed to get, and Mordecai was promoted to his position. Mordecai turned out to be the king's right-hand man after all this, and Esther got to keep her position as queen, ruling with the king side by side. Isn't that amazing? All because Esther had to have the faith that God had the entire situation in his hands. She was able to save all of her people. Her faith and her courage to go to the king, even though she wasn't supposed to do that, and to have a meal with him, that saved her people. And so, just like Esther, we need to remember to have faith all of our days. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!